This is video number 3 for Word Module 2 in the Shelly Cashman book on Microsoft Office 365. We left off on page 2-33, so we're starting on page 2-34 now. And the first thing to do is just enter some more text into the document. So I'll pause the video and type that text in, and you can do the same. Okay, I've typed in the text, and now we're at the bottom of page 2-34, and we're going to count the words. We don't have to do anything. We can just look down here in the bottom on the status bar and see that we've typed in 231 words. If you typed everything correctly, your number should match that. If we click on this, we'll bring up a dialog box. And we have the option here of including text boxes, footnotes, and endnotes. So it's including the words down here. So I probably got about 20 words or so down there. If I turn that off, and I don't even have to go down here, just look up here, it decreases that from 231 down to 208. So there must be 23 words down there in the bottom. So we haven't looked at text boxes yet, but text boxes can also have text in them that's separate from the rest of your document, and you may or may not want to include that. So I'm going to turn this back on, go ahead and click on close, and now we're at the top of page 2-35. So we need to enter some more text. So I'm going to pause the video again, type in the paragraph at number 2 on page 2-35, and you can do the same. Okay, I finished typing in the text, and we have automatically gone down to a new page because we filled up the first page. So we should be looking at this text right here. This was a deliberate misspelling, so the red wavy line is there. We'll fix that later on. And we are now at the end of the sentence after the word loss. And what we want to do is we know we're going to insert a reference here, a citation here, but we don't have all the information right now, so we're just going to put in a placeholder. So this is going to be on the References tab again. I'm going to do Insert Citation, and we're going to add a new placeholder. And the text for the placeholder is going to be Sanchez. I'm going to click on OK, and then type a period. And again, if you pause the mouse over the placeholder, what you'll see is it'll all turn gray, indicating that's something special. It's different from the ordinary text. Okay, now let's turn over to page 2-36. So sometimes when you're looking at your document and you've got a break between pages, you would like to see more text. We've got 1-inch margins here at the bottom. We got a 1-inch margin at the top. So when I'm at this point in the document, a whole bunch of my screen space is being wasted. So if I pause the mouse on the break area here in between the pages, if I double click, it will hide the white space. Everything else will look exactly the same, but it's just going to hide the margins at the top and the bottom of the page. Double click, and now you can see quite a bit more. So that's kind of handy if you want to see more text on the screen at one time. And to undo it, you just go back to the line here, and if you double click again, it will go back to the way that it was before. Okay, we're at the top of page 2-37. We're going to edit the source that's there. So we're going to click on it first. When we click on it, we get the arrow here for more options. And what we want to do is we don't want to edit the citation. That's this part right here. We want to edit the actual source for it. So click on source. And up here, book may come up first. What we want is to scroll down to website, choose website. When we do that, we get some changes in the options down here. Then let's click or tab down to the author box, and the typical format for author is last name first, comma, and then the first name, and middle name if you have it. The name of the web page, you can tab or click in the name of web page, and it's going to be technology, and your hearing. And we're going to skip over year, month, and day and go down to year access. The year access is going to be 2021. The month is going to be October. I'm doing abbreviation. And the day accessed is 1. And the medium is going to be the word web. Go ahead and click on OK. And that takes care of page 2-37. So let's go to the top of page 2-38. We're going to enter some more text. And it says press the end key to go to the end of the third paragraph. and then press enter. So enter marks the end of a paragraph. We're going to start a new one. So we should get a first line indent here of 1/2 inch. And now we're going to type in the text on page 2-38. And again, I'll pause the video while I type that in. Okay, I've typed in the text and now we're at number 3 on page 2-38. It says save the research paper again. So let's just go up here to our save command and save it. Now we're going to go to page 2-39. We're going to insert a works cited page at the end of our document. So we want that to be on a separate page. So at the end of this paragraph, you don't necessarily need to hit the enter key here. You can just leave the cursor where it is. At the end of this paragraph, what we want to do is we want to insert a page break. So we can go up here and go to page break. And the way I usually do this is an easy one to remember. Control and the enter key will insert a page break for you. So go ahead and click on that. And we're down on a brand new page. We hadn't typed much on the previous page. If we go up, we will see the page break. This is one reason why you want to keep this show hide button pushed in all the time, because it will show you everything that is controlling the formatting of your document. If I turn this off, I don't know why I got a new page break there. Okay, I might have just hit the enter key a whole bunch of times till I got down to the next page. So I'm going to turn that back on. And now I see that. If you want to delete that, you can delete it just like any other character. It's basically considered a single character in Word. I can just select that and hit the delete key. And now I do not have a new page. I'm going to undo that. And also do a Control Z to undo that. Now our page break is back in. We're now at the top of page 2-40. And number 1 says click home on the ribbon to display the home tab. And with the insertion point on the paragraph mark at the top of page 3, so that would be right here. This is the top of page 3. We're going to apply a style. We're going to apply the normal style. So let's go up here and select normal. Right now, we have a first line indent of 1/2 inch. What we're going to do is we're going to center something on this line. If we leave the first line indented like this, it will center it between this marker right here and this marker right here at the end. So it won't actually be centered between the margins. We want it centered between this mark and this mark. So if we just click on normal, it'll take that back to the left margin for us. We could also just take this and drag it back if we wanted to. We'll do what it says to do in the textbook. We'll go ahead and click on the normal button here. And now if I try to center something, it's going to be centered between this marker right here and this marker right here. So it will be exactly centered on the page. I want to center. There's 2 ways to do it. I can go up here and I can click on the center button, or I can just type Control E, and that's what we're going to do. So now we should be precisely in the center. We've got 6.5 inches worth of text here. And so this should be at the 3¼ inch mark. And if I just kind of click here, you'll see I'm directly above that. By the way, if you did that, if you clicked here and a little L appeared, that's a tab marker that we'll talk about later. You can click on that and just drag down off of the ruler and it goes away. So now we're at the bottom of page 2-40 and we're going to type in works cited as the title, and this should stay centered. I'll put my little mark up here again. Should stay centered around the 3¼ inch mark, and it does. We're going to hit enter to go down to a new paragraph. So now we're ready to change the format of this paragraph. It is currently centered, as you can tell by the paragraph mark and also by looking up here. We want this to be left aligned. So with the cursor on this new paragraph, this blank paragraph, we can either go up here and choose the align left button, or the easy way is to do the keyboard shortcut and just do a Control L. If we look up here on the ruler, you'll see that the first line indent now is still where it was on the previous line, but our alignment is now left aligned. So now that we've put a title on it, this is where we're going to put the bibliography. So we want to go to our References tab now, and we want to go to the Insert Bibliography. And we've got 3 choices. There's not very much difference between them. We're going to choose the first one, and it kind of scrolled out of sight here. Scroll back down, and this is something that was put in by Word. We did not type it, so that's why we've got the gray box around it all. So that's pretty consistent in Word. If you didn't type it in, but it's something that Word did, when you pause the mouse over it, you'll see that gray box around everything. So now we're at the bottom of page 2-41. Let's flip over to page 2-42. And it talks about how you do a hanging indent here. Let's take a look at one of these paragraphs. So a hanging indent is where the first line is not indented at all, but the subsequent lines are indented. So the first line kind of hangs out over the rest of it. So the way you do that is you just reverse these markers up here. So my first line marker is going to be at the left edge. So here's my first line right here. And the subsequent lines, if there's more than one line on any of these, like there is on this one and this one, then the subsequent line will be indented 1/2 inch. So if I were to put more stuff here, if this was 3 or 4 or 5 lines, every line after the first line would be indented 1/2 inch, and this first line would be at the left margin. So that's what's called a hanging indent. It does it automatically for you if you're putting in a bibliography, but there are times when you may want to do that on your own, and if that's the case, all you got to do is manipulate these two markers up here. This is probably a good place to quit. We're going to end the video here, and we'll pick up with the next video on page 2-42, proofreading and revising the research paper.